1, 2, 3.
What's up, dog? What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to my garage. That's why I'm wearing gloves. I'm working on the car again. It's needs a lot of work. I gotta do the undercarriage. So this is a great opportunity to talk about the sage. I want to talk about the sage today. Okay, the sage is a person. This is the last entry. The last entry in the main line. Personalities. Okay. Now, disclaimer. This isn't gonna be, one and done everybody. Everyone's different, right? Not everyone's gonna fit in a spot in one box. It's not a one size fit all kind of thing. Also, I highly doubt anyone is actually one of these specific things. People are complicated. We're a facet of all these types of things, right? We have aspects to ourselves as different. I just want that to be established. I'm harping on it, and I say it a lot because it's true. Everybody's different. You can't just look at one person and be like, they're exactly that. There's probably a thing or two that we don't know about them that they're like, that they're a part of another thing, right? There's probably another one or two personalities that's a part of like these are caricatures, okay? They're caricatures. They're not actually like people. Because I'm getting a lot of emails about it, like, hey, what do you think about this, and this? I know this guy at work. He's like this. I'm getting emails like that now. And they're way too personal to read because it'll pretty much pinpoint the person. I don't want that to happen. And the people's names are all over the document. I'm like, I'm not even going to bother. The point is, everybody is going to have, some of this stuff in them. That's fine, but not all of it. It's not going to be like this one guy, he's only a rat. He's probably a rat, a little bit of a sulker. He's probably a crab. I'm going to say that. Maybe that's true. By the way, you might be saying to yourself, well, what's a crab? Well, stay tuned. In a couple of days, I'm going to make an announcement talking about the prestige, which is dual, personas, right? Where you have two different types of persona in one person, right? Again, like I said, people are complicated, so we're going to be addressing that. And then as time goes on, you might find, I don't know, Susie. Susie is one of these personalities that has 4 or 5 parts of her in there. You know what I'm saying? These are fractional personas. These aren't actual personas. So maybe I should start calling them the fractions. I don't know. Fractional personas. Maybe that's what I'll call them. Fractional personalities. Anyways, so the sage. What is the sage? The sage is a person who is essentially the leader, the community person. They're like the hen mother, the head person of the group. They tend to be somebody who takes the reins of the project team. They take the reins of, whatever group dynamic that exists. They tend to be all about the community. They're a community person. They say the word community a lot. You find that person saying it. There's only 2 types of people who say the community, okay? The believer or the sage. They're one of the 2, okay? Now, they might be aspects later on. They may have a prestige. They may be in the prestige category where there's, they're a mixture. That's fine. But for the most part, that they have one of those 2 personalities in them. They might be a sage or they might be a believer. It depends on what kind of person they are. A sage is somebody who is they're a go-getter. Okay, they're the person who really be sweating bullets as far as making things happen. They feel it's upon them to make things happen. They feel beholden to the company. They feel like a responsibility to make things work. Like I said, the mercenary is looking at that person. And, mercenaries, thank God that person exists because I would have to probably do that or this project will fail. And that's usually what happens. If there is a mercenary in the group who's not, taking the reins, it's because there's a sage in the group, okay? The sage is also somebody who takes the beef. They take the most beef. They take the most heat. They take all the crap. It's almost like they're a masochist, but I'm not going to say that because that's not necessarily true. I said almost, right? They're almost like a masochist. They're not necessarily a masochist. They're just somebody who's willing to take the hits for the team. They're the person who, I mean, they'll take hits for the team so long as the team is going in a direction that they agree with, right? As long as they feel like there is potential in this team to go somewhere and they're on their way to that somewhere. You know, if they're on their way to a some sort of sales threshold, or some sort of, you know, achievement that's being completed. You know, maybe they have reached a new milestone. If they get to any of those kind of marks, any of those successful marks, that's when they'll push through and take the hit, no matter what. Like, it's kind of it's innate in them almost. It's almost like it's embedded in their personality, right? That's why I say it's a personality and not like a belief system, because a belief system is something you adopt. A personality is just kind of like, it's almost embedded in who you are, you know? It's like the people who trying to walk away, people who walk away are the Joker and the mercenary. Those two people can walk away. They don't have a problem. You know, they don't consider it an L to walk away. They consider it as either a lesson well learned, or they see themselves as, achieving whatever they needed out of it, right? Okay, did I get paid for it? Okay, cool, wonderful. Then it's not a waste of time. Whereas, you know, a sage believes that they lost. Like, oh my God, my team failed. Oh, it's my fault. Like, they feel like that's their fault, and that's why they don't quit. Even when it's about to like ruin their career, they do not quit. They push through. Now, you may say to yourself, well, there's parts of that that's me, but I'm not the other stuff. Well, you're probably one of the other prestige categories that's like, you know, got a part of the sage in there. Again, like I said, we'll talk about that in the future. There's another personality type. There's a lot of personality types that are a mixture with the sage. We'll cover that as the time goes on. But one thing that the sage does that is a very good positive thing is they do create a hub. Like, they do create some sort of team dynamic that actually is cohesive. They're the glue that keeps it stuck together. They really are. Because, again, mercenaries willing to walk away. Joker's laughing at everybody else. The sulker's bringing everybody else down. The cobra's trying to manipulate everybody. The rat is snitching on everybody at any turn and looking at to see who's the most alpha, who's the most dominant person, then that's the person they'll follow. The sage and the cobra, they be battling. They be battling for control. If the sage gets manipulated by the cobra, which is kind of the point of the cobra, is to like try to be your friend first, if that can work. If not, then they'll try to do the brute force technique. If the sage actually pushes back against the cobra, then they're at odds. But if the sage does get manipulated, the sage can actually change into somebody else. That's a very dangerous position to be in. That's the one time when the sage does change who they are. They can become a sulker. They become a mixture of somebody else first, and then they become a sulker, or they become a mixture of somebody else, or way worse, they take a hit from the company, and then they become a rat. They become afraid, right? So that's another thing that happens to sages once in a while. It's not often that it happens, but it does happen. I've seen it happen. Sages can become mercenaries. That's when you become so disillusioned that, you know, they decided for themselves to make a change for themselves and disconnect away from becoming they disconnect from becoming a community person, and that takes a while. They have to get burned quite a bit for that to happen, or they get burned so hard that they remember that forever. It's embedded in their memory. So when they learn that lesson, this is not worth it to me. I'm worth more than this. I know my self-worth. That's when they become a mercenary. It takes a while to get there, though. Again, this isn't everybody, but this is a particular type of, sage who just, has gotten hurt really bad. Like, they lost out on an opportunity, something that's probably life-changing, or it sets them back a few years or a year. They lose hair over it or something. No, I'm not talking about me. I'm not a sage, unfortunately. I don't have it in me to pull people up with me like that if it comes to the workplace, when it comes to the office. Yeah, I'm very ruthless. So, there's another thing there too that I've seen. Sages are very, they tend to be open. They're very nice people. They tend to be, very sweet people in general. That's not always everybody, but they tend to be very good people. Especially when you meet them outside of work, they're very interesting people. Like, usually they have a hobby you don't even know about. Like, you're like, wow, you fly planes. Oh, wow, you I don't know, collect boats. Sometimes they're wealthy. That's what drives me wild. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, no wonder you're so focused on building and creating and investing in this office place. Like, it's kind of like their outside hobbies have kind of permeated into like their lifestyle, like their socialization, their ability to socialize with anybody really has kind of seeped into their workplace life. And that's kind of unfortunate in some cases, because some become obsessed with work. They kind of socialize only in work. There's two types of really that kind of sage. The person who has hobbies and stuff outside of work and it goes and it permeates in, or they don't have a hobby and they don't have anything but work, and they created the workplace family at the job because of that. So that's kind of a cope. I'm not saying that person's bad. Again, these are not value judgments. These are just observations I've noticed. And the last thing I will say is the people they cohesively work with best are the mercenary. They even work well with the rat, because the rat will just, again, if the person's dominant, they'll follow through. The rat will be snitching for the sage. Be like, okay, so guess what? So-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing that. So they'll be the spy. They'll become a spy for the sage, which helps the sage out a lot, but also gives them a lot of stress too, because it's like, oh my God, I have all these enemies. Because the rat's interpretation, you have to be able to filter through that. And then also finally, they also work well with the mercenary for obvious reasons. The Joker, they work well with because they have a good positive. Again, the sage has a really good ability to socialize with people. Like, they have a really good charisma, ability to just pull people in and work with them. And not in a manipulative way. Like I said, there is a healthy manipulative kind of thing. And if you could consider what they're doing manipulation, then I would consider that the healthy manipulation, right? You're not manipulating people, really. You're kind of, I guess you are in a way, but you're doing it in a way that they want to. They want to, people want to feel like they belong. And the sage is the person who's like, hey, come on in. You belong with us. It is okay. We do accept you. Welcome to the team. That's who they are. And so they work well with them. And the people they don't work well with, obviously, the cobra. They don't work well with the sulker too much. I mean, there's a limit. There's a limit. The sulker, if he, takes a step back and is willing to work with the team, which has happened, the sage and them, it's almost like they convert them. You know what I mean? And if they can convert them, the sulker becomes a believer. Sometimes the sulker becomes a joker. It depends. If the sulker becomes comfortable in his own skin, which is rare, then he becomes a joker. But you have to first become comfortable before that happens, right? To be able to make jokes, you have to be at least comfortable and accept who you are. And that takes a long time for them. That's like, yeah, you have bigger problems if you're a sulker than that. You have to figure out, why you're dooming so much, what it is about you that is dooming. Like, do you hate the job? You need to leave. You need to find a new job. You need to find somewhere else where you're happy. Clearly this place is making you unhappy. Anyways, that's an aside. And that's about it. Oh, they do work best with the believer, obviously, for obvious reasons. And that's it. Let me know what you think about that. Are you a sage? Let me know in the comment section. Do you know a sage? Great. Let me know in the comment section. I'll see you next time. Peace.